Okay. Okay. Good morning. This is Subramanian speaking.
Good morning, Subramanian ji.
I know, is it Mr. Nidhin?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yesterday, I was traveling actually after winding up a session. That was, I was not able to do the dry run.
Okay,
Hope you would have received the message actually.
Yes.
Okay. I have a FiberNet connection and a alternate connection also in case anything goes wrong. And I am doing it from my desktop, sir.
Okay, that's.
Thank you. And I understand my session will be somewhere around 12 o'clock, sir.
Yes.
Okay. And I should stay on till that time?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Because first thing first, if we understand things, that will be easy. Fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll go on mute.
Yes, sir.
Hi, everyone. A very good morning and warm welcome to the fourth and final episode of the Green Job Series 2.0. And this episode is Youth for Villages. I hope you're all doing well and keeping safe wherever you are. My name is Maria. I am from UNICEF India, and I'm really happy to see so many of you here. I hope you're joining us back after some of the previous Green Job Series episodes that you have joined in the last few weeks. And I know it's a Diwali weekend, so everyone is in the festive mood already, planning to celebrate Diwali. But we hope that you're staying with us for the next few hours to learn more about the interesting job opportunities in rural India. So we're really overwhelmed by the positive feedback and all the engagement of you, all the young people that have joined us in the last 3 episodes in this webinar series. And it really motivates us to continue going and, bring in new speakers, create more knowledge products, and look what are the career opportunities in the green and the blue job, the green and blue economy. So this was the last, this is going to be the last series. The last episode in the series, and the earlier sessions focused on youth for coasts, youth for Himalayas, and youth for cities. So as the previous sessions, this session is organized by the Climate Change and Environmental Sustainability team of UNICEF India, jointly with the National Skill Council for Green Jobs, UNEP, UNDP, UWA, WWF India, GIZ India, WRI India, and Europort India. And we're really grateful to all our partners for doing this jointly and giving so many opportunities and knowledge for the youth here in India. So a big thanks to all our partners, but also especially to the team that has been organizing these series, the team that is working really hard behind the scenes. And you've heard them on the sessions, but I just want to shout out, thank you so much, Green Job Series team, for making this happen. So as we have announced in the previous sessions also, there's going to be some exclusive paid internship opportunities for the successful participants who attend all the sessions with some of the partners that I just mentioned. We'll also be giving a participation certificate to the participants who complete the feedback form, and we'll be sharing this form at the end of the session. And if you fill the form, it also gives us the opportunity to see what you've liked, things that we need to improve, so that next year when we come back with Green Job Series 3.0, it will be even better and bigger and more exciting. As explained in earlier sessions as well, we're trying to make this the structure as participatory and as inclusive as possible. So we will have real-time Hindi translation facilitated by Abhishek, our interpreter. So looking at the Zoom bar at the bottom, you can choose the language that you want, either the original, the English, or the Hindi. So if you're more comfortable in Hindi, choose the Hindi translation. And to keep everyone engaged, again, we'll be having Q&A sessions after every speaker. And of course, we request you, if you have any questions for any of the speakers, please post your question in the Q&A tab. And please mention the name of the speaker as well, so that the speaker can respond to your question. We'll also have an opinion poll in between the technical sessions. As usual, we have an excellent lineup of speakers today. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to hand over soon to these exciting speakers. Of course, again, we'll have a quiz at the end of the webinar on Europort India, which is a digital platform. And the top performers will receive merchandise from UNICEF India. So I'd like to invite now Harshita from our digital communications team to brief you about Europort India and to share the update about quiz results. But before I hand over to Harshita, I just wanted to take the opportunity to wish everyone a wonderful Diwali celebration. this weekend and on Monday, and wishing you all the best. And thank you so much for joining us today and also the last few Green Job series. So thank you again and enjoy the last one. Over to you, Harshita. Bye.
Thank you, Mariah. Good morning, everyone. I'm again very excited to be a part of this session. And I would like to thank all the participants who have taken part in the quizzes that were conducted at the end of session 2 and 3 of the Green Jobs series. It's exciting to know that around 300 participants have completed at least one of the 2 quizzes. And we have shortlisted the winners on the basis of the points that they have secured. And we'll be announcing the winners at the end of today's session. So hope you all are just as excited as I am. And stay tuned to know the winners at the end of today's session.
Thank you, Harshita, for sharing about the quiz, and we're looking forward to know who wins it. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I am Srijani Datta. I'll be your moderator for today. I'm an undergraduate student of sociology at Hindu College, Delhi University, and I'm also associated and work for a youth-led climate action group called Youth for Climate India. And despite the fact that it's the Diwali weekend, we have such a strong number today of participants. It really tells us how much you guys are interested in this topic. So taking no further time, I'd like to introduce our first speaker for today, Mr. Rajiv R. He's an assistant professor of environmental planning at the School of Planning and Architecture, Vijayawada. He'll be speaking to us about the emerging scope of spatial planning in green economy, the role of environmental planning. Rajiv sir is a planner with specialization in environmental planning. He has completed an undergraduate degree in Bachelor's of Planning from SPA Vijayawada and a postgraduate degree in Master's of Planning, specifically Environmental Planning, from SPA Delhi, and has excelled in both programs. In his 8 years of professional experience, he has been closely involved in policy making, strategic planning, projects with focus on eco-sensitive zones, tourism framework development, impact assessments, green campus, and master planning exercises. As an academician and practitioner, he's keenly interested in matters of sustainable development, tourism planning, ecosystem management, legislative framework and environmental planning process, and climate resilient planning. So we are very glad to have you here with us today, and I will give it to you now.
Thank you, and hello to all. I'm Rajiv. I'm having a very bad throat. I hope all the participants are able to hear me. I've been traveling this weekend, so very bad. Yeah, I hope I'm audible, right? Yes. So I'm Rajiv, as Srijani has already introduced. I'm a planner. I'm a spatial planner and specializes in environmental planning. And as planners, we deal with settlements. So my presentation today will be focusing more on that. Without further ado, I'll just start sharing my screen. Just a second. I hope my screen is visible to all, right? Thank you for confirmation. So yeah, the title that I'll be speaking on is Emerging Scope of Spatial Planning in Green Economy, the Role of Environmental Planning. This being the Green Job series, wherein we kind of introduce the students and the youth, the future of our India. So we should introduce them to all varied professions that are available, where what they can take up. So planning is one of the fields that are not very well known to people. For me, myself, when I was a student, during that time, I never knew. It's just that slowly, by chance, I ended up in the profession, but now I love it. So we understand as a teacher, now I'm teaching in a national institute. So we understand that we should actually promote and popularize various programs like planning. Okay. So first of all, there are some terms in the title, that is spatial planning, green economy, environmental planning. I'll quickly take the audience through these three words, okay? And slowly we move into the session. If at all anyone has any doubts, as already told by the moderator, you are free to post your queries on the chat box. So what is planning? If we see, planning is a very dynamic profession. Why dynamic? Because we plan for the future. Okay, we plan for now and we plan for the future and future of the people living in our cities, the people living on our villages, the larger across the globe. We kind of make the spaces more livable, more habitable, etc. So it's a profession that works to improve the welfare of the people, their communities, by creating more convenient, equitable, healthy, efficient, sustainable, and attractive places. We design the environment. That means anything that surrounds you. Okay, we design the spaces. We make plans, programs, etc. And now within planning, because what surrounds us is not very simple. It's a very complex fabric. We have various specializations within the realm of planning. That is urban planning, wherein we talk about cities, neighborhoods, etc. Regional planning, wherein we talk about districts, then states, planning for larger regions. Then transportation planning, where the planners who specialize in transportation planning deal with roads, the various transportation systems. Environmental planning, so I'm an environmental planner. So wherein we deal with about planning for environmental regions, like for example, a coastal area or islands, etc. And then we have infrastructure planners who talk about the water supply system, the drainage system, the sewerage system, etc. in cities. Then we have planners who specialize in housing, who talk about housing in cities, villages, the rural housing that's there. And then there are tourism planners who plan for tourist destinations, tourist circuits, and tourism policies. There are a lot many specializations. I have just listed a few. Now planning, now with this listing itself, we understood that it is a very multi-dimensional, multi-professional field. So it's not just about planners who will be doing the planning. It is a very profession wherein professionals from different fields come together. In planning, it's not a one-man job, it's a team effort. So one person, see, me myself cannot make a plan for a village, for a city, but I require specialist inputs like from architects, engineers, here I meant the civil engineers, then sociologists, geographers, environmental specialists, economists, statisticians, etc. So it's a team effort, and in planning, all of these professionals come together, because if we see a city, if we see a village, if we see a rural area or any landscape, it is made up of different layers. And each one of this layer, for example, your land, they require specialists from who focus on land. And then you have specialists who focus on water related aspects, who focus on biodiversity related aspects. So in planning, or as a planner, you focus on these multiple things. So you are like a master of all, okay? So I am trying to make and popularize this program as a part of this Green Job series. So if we see the various layers that I've been talking about, I've just tried to document in a graphic format. So I've just put a small image on the side wherein you can see that we have the land. Then each one of this land parcel, which I've divided for blocks, have some specific uses that we call as land use in planning terminology. And this use can be your agricultural land, your settlement area, the areas where we keep aside for protection like forest area, etc. And then we have some areas for industries, and that is the land uses. Then you have the roads and the transport facilities which connects these uses. And as planners, we design public spaces where people can come together. And then there are buildings. So how do we put the buildings together? Like how is the massing done? And what are the implications that it can lead to? And at the end of the day, we plan for the people. We plan for the society. So about the social planners, and how the society interacts, and accordingly how our spatial planning, how do we plan for the space, can change. So this is where a planner's job begins. Okay, so if we see the current examples that surround us, there are, and now I'm just taking a few of the examples, not all the examples. So we have, I hope all the audience have heard of Smart Cities program that is there in India. And then we have the Amrit scheme, etc., wherein we talk under smart cities, we talk about smart energy, we talk about waste management, we talk about transportation, traffic management, parking, health, solar energy, that is renewable energy, water and water quality, smart communication, etc. So putting all this together, this is where a planner's job start. And as a planner, we focus on multiple of these aspects such that we can make lives better for people who are staying in the settlements, in the urban and the rural area. The urban, I mean the cities, and the rural, I mean the villages. Okay, so if we see, for example, yes, these are projects in pipeline, projects in proposal, and as planners, we plan for the future. The future, I mean like 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead, 20 years ahead. How will my city, or how will my environmental region, or how will my village develop into? Okay, so we have smart green cities, wherein I'll have green and blue interventions to improve the city function, etc. So as a planner, and especially as an environmental planner, which is a field that I deal with, we are constantly in a tussle between environment and development. So development is what we want, and we cannot completely do away with development. But at the same time, it's the environment that we stay in. And if the environment is not healthy, then there is no requirement, or there is no reason that we should care about development. So actually what we want is a development that goes hand in hand with the environment that we stay in. So in 1986-87, that time the terminology, or this term of sustainable development, was coined, and further which in the planning platform, and generally also we speak of the SDGs, that the sustainable development goals. And as planners, as planning professionals, who are involved in this, yes, we do deal with all of these sustainable development goals. We see to some extent how we can push our settlements towards attaining and towards achieving these sustainable development goals. So the term is sustainability, and if I need to achieve the sustainability, yes, we do require the economy, because the cities, the villages, the people, we all do some economic activities to improve our lives, to have better future. And the society is the place that we stay, where we have our social interactions. But both of this coexist in a larger environment. Okay, and the interactions and the positive interactions between ecology, economy, and society leads to sustainability, and that is what we want for the future. And as planners, we promote this concept of sustainability through our spatial plans, through our policies, through the economic plans that we make, etc. So if we see, it's not just about spatial planning, it can be about feasibility of future projects, etc. Even that is a part of planning profession. So green economy, it's not just about economic development, but it focuses on a development that doesn't harm the nature. Okay, so here we talk about low carbon growth, that is growth that is not harming the environment in terms of a large ecological footprint, or a footprint that means a pressure that I'm putting on the environment. And there as well as there is good social inclusivity, that I should not leave anyone behind. We should all work together. That means everyone in a society, be it a person who is having high income to a person having low income, should have equal opportunities in the settlements, in the larger region, for jobs, for having better facilities, etc. And the environment that we see is resource based, and we should target for efficiency of, we should use efficiently these resources, not to degrade, so such that not just us, not just me, but my future generation, my child and their children should be able to have a better future. So in planning, we focus on terms like sustainability, green economy, etc. And our plans kind of focus on building better resource efficiency into the system. So now my professional journey, I thought that it is easy. It's good to relate to the crowd how I came into the profession. So I'm from Kerala. And when we were doing our +2, I was not very well read on what is planning. So in India, we write then it was all India entrance exam. And now we have the IIT JEE exam. And through these exams, we can enter into taking up planning as a probable professional course for our future studies. So I ended up taking up the course of bachelor's in planning. So I did my course in School of Planning and Architecture. So SPA is one such institute which is of national importance. So it's not just SPAs, but we have a handful of institutes, not many, just a handful of institutes in India which offer this program at the bachelor's degree. It's a 4-year course. And in this course, as we've seen, in planning education, we start from maths and and statistics and operation research and economics as the base, and geography. And then we move into specializations like development planning, like housing and real estate, like planning for the infrastructure. Then we again further specialize in matters which are of contemporary nature, like climate change, water sensitive planning, etc. And we plan for space, the larger region, that is my cities, my towns, the villages, etc. So then further I did my master's in planning with specializing in environmental planning from again School of Planning and Architecture. We abbreviate it as SPA. Again, it's the National Institute of Importance. So as I've already introduced, there are various specialization. And as of now, I just have 8 years as professional experience. Initial years was in research. Then I moved into planning projects as a planning professional. Then further, I moved into academics and I'm teaching in a planning institute, that is School of Planning and Architecture in Vijayawada, which is in Andhra Pradesh. In my kitty, I just have 15 planning projects as of now. I've made 10 research publications in international and national publications and conferences and book chapters. And as of now, I've guided more than 35 to 40 UG and PG theses in planning profession. So this is just a quick listing of few of the projects that I've involved, just to give you a glimpse into what all types of domains can a planner focus on. So initially, during the time when I was a student at bachelor's level, during the internships, I kind of, so we do take up internship as a planner, as a part of our course curriculum in planning profession. It is mandatory. So therein I was involved in the district urbanization report for Kannur district. So we plan how a district, the urbanization in the district should be carried forward. And then the second project as a part of the internship program was Safaria. So it's on responsible and participatory tourism planning initiative. So in planning, we deal with different scales. So if you see the first one, it is at a district level, but if the second one, it is a very micro level planning, wherein I have to involve with the communities, I have to involve with the various stakeholders in tourism industry and make a plan for a better responsible and participatory tourism, wherein I can involve the tourism and the tourism professionals and the people, the tourists also in the planning process as such. The first project after completing my master's was evaluating the alternate locations for the capital for the newly created state of Andhra Pradesh, which was with the K.C. Shivaramakrishnan Committee. So this was under the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. And I was just working as a research associate just immediately after completing of my course. But it is a big project wherein we discuss at a state level, which can be a possible location for citing the capital of Andhra Pradesh. So as a planner, we don't give one option, we give alternatives. We are not the decision makers, but we have a recommendatory job to the government, to the public, to the private parties, etc. Okay, so again, that is at a state level. Now coming back, the next project was at a green campus development. So it's a very small campus for University of Hyderabad, and you make a master plan for that small area. Okay, the next project is the revised master plan for Bangalore. So there it is Bangalore as a metropolitan city, and there we deal with how I plan for the city, the various uses, where will the commercial area in a city come, which is the new growth centers the city should have, how can I kind of decongest the city, etc. That gets discussed in the master plans. The next few projects are a line of environmental projects that I've dealt with. So the first one being the Integrated Coastal Zone Management Plan and Shoreline Management Plan for Odisha. So it's for the Odisha coast, where we've taken up the coast of Odisha, and there we were discussing about the various coastal management strategies that is there. The next is island development for Andaman and Nicobar and the Lakshadweep Islands, few selected islands wherein we can bring in economic development in the island at the same time not harming the island environment. The next few projects are tourism projects which focus in Uttarakhand and Himachal. Again, these are environmental regions, regions which are hilly in terrain, which are very sensitive. So you should be careful not to bring in a lot of pressure on the environmental resources, but at the same time, you can boost the economy of that particular region. Then there are zonal master plans for eco-sensitive zones and protected areas and sanctuaries. The latest projects that I just completed was the GIS-based master plan for Bhimavaram in Andhra Pradesh. So it's a GIS is a tool that we planners are using quite frequently for all the spatial level of analysis. So planners use GIS, that is Geographic Information Systems, and then we use remote sensing, etc. and Excel as a statistical tool for all the analysis. Planning at the end of the day, you don't need to complicate that. It is very technical. Yes, it is technical, but at the end of the day, it is nothing but common sense. So we don't do anything. We just do rational way, kind of structuring the human thoughts into what people want for the future and deliver it. And if you see, yes, planning can be considered as a career option for the future, wherein we help in shrinking the ecological footprint of the individual in a city by giving them options to develop self-sufficient communities, shaping policies to combat global warming, etc. We deal with policies that affect the lives of people, focusing on social justice and strengthening the communities. So that's a social angle. Yes, we can ensure the future generations benefit from the Earth's resources. We focus on long-term economic development, and we also deal with how the cities, towns, villages are developed and built. So yes, I hope that at this stage I was able to create some image of what is planning, and yes, planners can create a meaningful impact to our society. So where do planners work? Planners work with the government, with NGOs like UN, and in the private field with real estate firms, etc. So the job scenario for planning graduates has changed over the years, which not only cater to the public sector, but also to the private sector. So that again offers a lot of opportunities. So that's all from my end. My 20 minutes is up. And I encourage all the people, especially the architects, engineers, and the sociologists, the economists, the geographers, etc., to come forward into this field. And the youth are the people who have not yet entered into, yes, it is a very promising field. So thank you all. And I'm Rajiv. I'm Assistant Professor, Department of Planning, School of Planning and Architecture, Vijayawada. For any further queries in the future also, you can feel free to contact me. Thank you very much, and over to you, Srijan.
Thank you, sir. This was a brilliant presentation. I think it was very well made. We also realized that how planning plays a role in incorporating the ecological, economy, and social into one, so that they have more positive interactions. And I really liked the bit about, how people actually how planning interacts with different elements in cities and rural areas. It gave us a lot of insights about where all planners are actually involved and can be involved. So we just have one question here, which is very interesting one. Any examples of rural planning to avoid negative human-animal interactions or saving natural resources? Kindly share your insights related to this. This was by Nishant Venugopal.
Hello, Nishant. Just a quick response to this. It's a detailed question if I take time. But to put it short, see, in planning as an environmental planner, man-animal conflicts and planning for rural areas are always a matter of concern. So especially if you see one of the projects which I have listed, that is the planning zonal master plan for eco-sensitive areas. So every protected area or any area of having biodiversity significance have an area earmarked around it called as an eco-sensitive zone. Now this is generally earmarked by the government through a gazette notification. Otherwise also through planning projects or as a part of planning projects, we create different through logical thinking, we create a zone around it, which is like a regulated zone where we design that, okay, what activity can happen and to what extent. So through that, we can kind of control this man-animal conflicts and impact on environment in such areas. So yes, planners involve themselves in such processes. Yes, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, sir. And for everyone, they can just connect with sir. He provided his email if you have any further questions. Thank you so much, sir, for coming in. We will now be moving on to our next speaker, who is Shani Pandya. He's the founder and CEO of Imagine Powertree Private Limited. He'll be speaking to us about innovation and entrepreneurship as a solution to the planetary crisis that we're facing. Shani Pandya graduated in chemical engineering. He's a passionate entrepreneur with a mission to make our cities more sustainable. He's leading the company Imagine Powertree Private Limited from April 2018 as CEO. Before starting Imagine Powertree, he founded an incubation center and was running it for 5+ years till it became the best incubation center in the region. We're very glad to have you with us today, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Srijani, for the wonderful introduction. Happy Dhanteras to everyone, and my wishes to all that everyone get good Lakshmi in next financial year. Thank you very much for the introduction. Let me share the screen. Just a minute. Screen is visible?
Yes, it is.
Great. Just a minute. Super. So I'm Shani Pandya. I will start with the introduction. Apologies because I had a lot of mithai yesterday, so I'm having kind of my voice might not be that clear today. Apologies for that. So basically, I'm a chemical engineer from the background, graduated from Pandit Dindayal Energy University. I started the incubation center of PDU at the age of 21. There is a wonderful story behind it. I will go through that story as well. And I got a chance to speak about the story in TEDx. So you're able to search that journey in the YouTube as well. And running a successful solar company. And I'm a coffee lover. So happy to host you anyone visiting Gandhinagar for a coffee. So this is my family photo, where this is a typical Brahmin family. 3 persons in the photographs are kind of teachers. My entire family is from a teaching background. I'm a first generation entrepreneur. No one became an entrepreneur in my entire family. So I'm the first one to do it. So many people, when I started the business, many people were saying it's difficult if you're a first generation entrepreneur to start the business. And I wanted to clear that myth, and that's the story behind making other people wrong. So I started my venture very early. When we are the second year student of the college, right? We are able to find one of the interesting need of a college, which was we are able to. So in our college, there was having a kind of a stationery store, which was selling the pen drives with a higher rate. So we just inquired the China and various places. What is the actual price of a pen drive? And we came to know that the actual price of pen drive was around 150 200 rupees, and the stationery owner was selling around 550 to 600 rupees, right? And then we have decided with my colleague, Mr. Happy Patel, why not to book a container from China, take it to India and resell it with a good rate, and why not to break the market of a stationery owner is making good margins. Actually, we did that. We ordered one of the initially few pen drives from China, their entire container from China, supplied to our various batchmates, classmates, and colleagues. And at that time, we realized various things of doing business, various basics of business. It was a trading, but yes, that was really good learning curve at the initial age of a college. So that was one of my first kind of a venture. When we are in third year, we made biodiesel in the lab. So I'm basically a chemical engineer. So we created a kind of one of the biodiesel in the lab. We wanted to commercialize that biodiesel. So what happened was we reached out to our parents. They said, "Beta, so your student just focus on the study, focus on your CVs, CPs, the credits which you have to score to get good placement, right?" When we reached out to the college, they said, "Ki we are able to fund for research. We are not able to fund for a commercialization, right? Because we wanted to do business of biodiesel. We already created a better version of biodiesel when we are the college students, right?" They said the same stuff. We reached out to the bank. They said we need a 3 years balance sheet, and we said that what is a balance sheet? That was the question at that time, right? So what happened was, because no one supported us at that time, right? We again re-empathize me with my colleagues at that time. There are a lot of people, lot of young people like us who want to do something at initial age, right? Many of you from 300 plus students participating today, many of you want to do something. There are multiple people like me who want to do something at initial age of their life, right? They don't have any other options available. So this is the time when it's 2013, 2014, when the startup India movement was not that mature at that time, right? So we thought of why not to support people like us who want to do something. That we have decided to start something to support people like us, right, who wanted to build this. That's how the incubation center of Pandit Dindayal Energy University was established at that time. And I was lucky enough to work for that center for 5 years. We supported 130 plus startups, which consist of around 400 to 500 students who want to do something, pursue their ventures, startups, right? Invested 11 to 12 crores of grant money to them. At initial age, we had some of them to raise external angel venture finance as well, and we are able to scale it up. So this was really kind of a good phase of my life where we established one of the finest incubation center in the state of Gujarat, which is now after my exit as well, it is running successfully in the state of Gujarat. Similarly, one day what happened was when I was seeing the journey of various startups getting failed, getting successful in the incubation center, right? I have decided that I have to experience that journey. Why not to experience the entrepreneurship? That day, I have taken over one of the close idea, which was of a power tree. So that was started by my colleague, Mr. Happy Patel. So I taken over that close idea and converted into a business opportunity. Now, so I pursue that with business as a CEO, as a director of the company, as a full-time venture, where we enable cities to achieve their renewable energy goal without consuming dedicated space as a resource. What happened was in our college, there was having 1 megawatt. There is 1 megawatt solar plant that is located in the city of Gandhinagar, which is consuming around 6 acres of dedicated land. The market value of that land is around 60 to 80 crores, and the solar plant value is around 6 to 8 crores. So in the city areas, in urban areas, you're able to understand that big solar plant is not making sense. because land is a constraint, right? So we have decided how we can solve this problem. So we have designed solar trees of capacity ranging from 1 kilowatt to 20 kilowatt from single tree, which can be also combined together to generate more amount of energy, which can be installed in any kind of uncertain places, like in between the roads, gardens, landscapes, and the places where you never imagined before to have solar power plants, to make it a net zero campus, right? And we believe that this is going to be a billion-dollar opportunity, because all the cities in the globe, or all majority of the countries in the world, are having a renewable energy goals, net zero goals. And solar is one of the best way to do it. The only challenge they have is they don't have a dedicated space available to install these big solar power plants in the urban areas, which is one of the most consuming factor for any kind of countries. So we kind of did good business of around 12 crore plus, filed 18 plus patents, design patents in our name. We have 7 already granted by the patent office. The 20 plus team, a full-time team of employees and people who are working in my company. We received multiple awards, national and 10 plus national and international awards. At the same time, we got lots of learning during the entire journey. Now I know business of the finance. Now I know various stuff as a CEO, how to run a company, how to lead the company, how to make sure that you understand the basics of finance, and you understand the technical parts of it, right? At the same time, recruiting right talent, how to recruit it, HR. As a CEO, you are able to learn basics of it, right? And that was really helpful in my entire journey. So what played very important role in my life, right? So when I analyze my life as my journey and my learning curve, right? The cricket which we played, this very much interesting subject, right? So as an extracurricular activity, we are playing good cricket together. So cricket played very important role to build my own entrepreneurial journey. Many of you are wondering how cricket played a very important role to help you to become a good entrepreneur, right? In the cricket, by playing cricket, we work how to take work as a team, how to get a fighting spirit to win, right? Multiple other things, because which cannot be learned just by sitting in the classroom. That I would, how to execute it well, right? How to execute the plans which you have developed during the playing the cricket. So in the 4th year of my graduation, we played a good cricket together. At the same time, I'm able to get my cricket team captain, where he pursued his masters from USA. I called him back to join my company as a partner. So that was also kind of a good phase of my life. So cricket played a very important role in my journey, right? The mentors, the people who actually guide you. So my ex-boss, Mr. Kapadia, my the technical mentor, Mr. Jani, and multiple other people, the mentors who actually guided me to achieve right milestones in my entire career. So mentors played a very important role on molding my life. I recommend everyone to have good mentors, good people in and around with you, which help you to take right path. In a life, there are multiple paths to take, but the right mentors are going to help you to take the right decision, right? Super awesome people at all stage of journey. Right. I got multiple co-founders. I got multiple teammates, my ex-employees, my current employees, my batchmates. I learned multiple stuff in the entire journey. My clients, my investors, my stakeholders, my bankers, right? So my entire career till date is surrounded by right people with right synergy and right match, right? Spirit of fighting and winning. So we are only able to control efforts. So I never compromise on giving the best of myself, right? We never compromise on giving an efforts, right? Results are result of our efforts, right? So spirit of fighting and winning, which always helped me to survive and take my business to the next level, right? And the best part, being a part of the Incubation Center, we are organizing multiple events and activities, a part of the event, part of the Incubation Center, which developed various execution capabilities in myself, which enable me to achieve. So we take any kind of contracts, big or small, right? We develop our execution capacity, being a part of when I was working with the Incubation Center, which now I try to enable my team to achieve that milestones and that execution capacities, because that is the only area which makes you kind of a differentiating factor compared to your competitors, or other players working in the domain. So these are some of the photographs of the product. It looked like a sunflower, rotate like a sunflower, consume 1 to 2 square feet space in the ground. it can be installed in between the roads and different kind of applications. Multiple this kind of 60 to 70 solar trees are installed in various places of the state. We also developed one of the world's highest capacity solar tree recently in the Vapi of 16 kilowatt. It has this kind of different functions. It can charge electric vehicles. One solar 20 kilowatt is enough to power 2 Tesla cars, to charge full 2 Tesla cars, right? And it look good at the same time, because in urban areas where you're installing anything, right, it must be good. It must be aligned with the urban infrastructure of the city, right? Thank you very much, the entire UNICEF team, the entire team for supporting and inviting me for the session, hoping that it's going to be useful and meaningful for the people around. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I think one of the most important features for me from your journey is that you were like a self-starter. You saw opportunities, you grabbed it, and also the fact that you're very grateful to the people around you who have made this happen and how you built your team. So thank you so much for sharing more about your experience. We will take your questions and our next panelist's questions together, since you are speaking on the same topic. We next up have Aditya Shukla. They will also be speaking about innovation and entrepreneurship as a solution to the planetary crisis. Aditya sir is graduated from Gujarat Technological University with a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, and his areas of interest involve breakthrough technologies in the construction, clean tech, recycling, alternative materials, and renewable energy sectors. As a first-generation entrepreneur, he founded Saltech Design Labs Private Limited immediately after graduating from college, with the vision of providing cutting-edge technological solutions to the most significant problems humans face on a regular basis. Leveraging science, engineering, and technology as a tool, he seeks to address challenges by sustainable designs and developments. Thank you, sir, for joining us today, and I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Sundar. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aditya Shukla. I am founder and CEO of Saltech Design Labs Private Limited. We are a company based out of Gandhinagar. I would say we are actually the product of an incubation center established by Shani Pandya, the previous speaker before me. And we are the company who started with student startups, like a few of the people coming out of the university, trying to do something into entrepreneurship and focused on some kind of technology-based solutions. That is where we came up with the idea, and we were looking for avenues where we can basically pitch these ideas to get support, get resources, and that is where we landed up in PDPU Innovation and Inclusion Center. Although I'm not a graduate from the university, they have helped me irrespective of my alma mater. They have helped me from any kind of resources, from like in terms of financial, in terms of compliances, in terms of industry expertise, and all the other resources. So what we have been doing is, I graduated in 2017. I started working on an idea. The waste management in India was at a very, very peak stage. There was a Swachh Bharat mission going on, Swachh Bharat Mission Urban, Swachh Bharat Mission Gramin, and PM was so much onto the Swachh Bharat Mission that he basically came up with new policies, new kind of mechanisms where the SBM technologies and cities, villages can fund this kind of projects and come up with more solutions where they can make overall Bharat a Swachh Bharat. So in that year, we started working on and seeing why I was new to Ahmedabad. I was working in a startup company as a product developer. And on my way to work, I used to travel from a dump site, which is known as Pirana in Ahmedabad. I've never seen a mountain like that in my life. I'm from a very small town named as Cambay, or Gulf of Cambay, if you have heard of. And it's 110 kilometers from here. It's a coastal town. So I'm from that town. I have never been to any kind of metro cities like Ahmedabad. And the first site when I came here for my internship, I saw this dump site. And that basically started a thought process in my mind, like why this is happening, what is the reason of this waste has been ever growing, and there's a huge mountain of waste which is being piled up, why nothing has been taken care of. And that is where me and my few of my friends and two of my cousins started, like in terms of interacting with each other. They were also in the same city, although they were working in a different zone. So when we basically meet and talk at dinners or something, so we will basically discuss the ideas, why this is happening, what are the reasons and everything. And then we came across the few common denominator points, and the points were regarding the issue is not regarding the waste management. For example, if you are aware about the segregation of waste, if you are aware about the proper waste management practices, if you do a proper waste management practices, for example, if you use plastic and put it into plastic container, if you use paper, you put it in paper container, if you use any kind of organic food waste, you put it in organic container. What happens is those waste will only after your segregation will only go into their supply chain if they have any kind of monetary value, or if they have any kind of product or demand for them as such a waste. So you will see, you will never find precious metal like gold, silver, or let's say metal, even iron metals and everything landing up into the landfill as such, because everybody knows their recycling value, everybody knows their monetary value. So eventually what happens is, even if you put it into the dustbin, the person who is taking your dustbin and taking it to the municipal corporation site, they will get to know that the metal is precious and I will take it out and earn money out of it. So everything in the material supply chain works on the monetary value. It's as simple as that. If you have a monetary value driven approach, most of the material will get recycled or get reused, because they will yield some kind of monetary benefit for the people associated in the supply chain. And that is where we thought that the issue is regarding the material which does not have recyclability, material which does not have any afterlife use, material who where recycling technologies are lacking. If we basically target these three kinds of points, we might be able to come up with a solution which can basically process this kind of material into some kind of product, and those products can be utilized to make a monetary driven approach for the whole supply chain. And that is where we came up with a solution. I will just share the screen, like what we do. Is my screen visible? Hello.
Yes, it is now.
Okay.
It is visible now?
Is it visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So basically what we have done is we have made a company out of our idea and concept, and incorporated that company in 2018. And what we are doing is we are valorizing waste to build sustainable infrastructure. And if you see, the problem which we are solving is on the two sides. Worldwide, we see that 380 million metric tons of plastic is being produced for the fresh use cases, and 45 to 47% of that plastic is basically going into packaging, like your food packaging, your shrink wraps, your polythene bags, everything and anything related to packaging. So what happens is, this packaging material is almost 50% of all the plastic which is being produced, but having very less recycling rate. So if you consider overall recycling of plastic, it is less than 9%. So 91% of all the plastic which is being produced till now has ended up in landfill or into some kind of incineration process. So that is the issue which we want to solve. We see that there is still an issue of source segregation. So minimum or no source segregation is happening. That is one of the points. Second point is lack of heterogeneous waste recycling technology. That means when you have multiple kinds of plastic, let's say all 7 category of plastics, or all 2 or 3 category of plastics mixed together, that also becomes very difficult to recycle, because mechanical recycling process are very limited to the type of and the way they process the plastic in a singular form. That is where we see that if we come up with a technology which can process more than one type of waste together, apart from plastic, any kind of other inert material or any kind of other material which ends up in landfill, that would be a benefit for the society, as well as we can take a kind of waste to value approach there. And the other side, if you see urban infrastructure needs, so towns and cities are like 1/3 of population of India, and approximately in these towns and cities, 1/4 of all the urban housing is slum. So that means every fourth person living in the city is living in a slum. And even this one of the biggest slum of Asia is in India, which is known as Dharavi in Mumbai. So that is where we see that there is an exponential demand for urban infrastructure, urban housing, but due to limited resources or limited in terms of financial assistance, we are not able to provide that to the people of the urban population living in India. And there is a need for more affordable and durable building material as well, so that we can come up with better performance of the material at an affordable price, which can eventually bring down the cost and the financial requirements for building urban housing and urban infrastructure for the country. So what we have come up with is a technology-driven approach. We basically recycle multiple kinds of plastic waste. So from city waste streams, we take post-consumer use plastic waste, all 7 categories mixed together. We call them as mixed plastic waste. We shred them into small materials and small particle size. We take recovered aggregate coming from construction and demolition waste streams like C&D waste, and we basically process them as well. We take different kinds of industrial waste coming from industries like fly ash, dry slurry, mineral waste, any kind of carbon residual waste, which does not have any afterlife use cases in the industry. So what we do is we use plastic as a binder base, recovered aggregate as a reinforcing material, and any kind of industrial waste or particulate matter as a filler material. So this is the composition. There is no cement, there is no water in the manufacturing process. This pre-mix of the composition goes into our patented technology. And with our patented compatibilizer, we basically process them into products. And these composite products are basically a sustainable alternative to cement concrete. So if you see pavement tiles, paver block, roof shingle, different kinds of product, precast product can be made from the technology. The biggest advantage is the strength to weight ratio of our material is 3 times more than the concrete. That means if I make a same strength product as of a concrete, my weight will be 3 times lighter. Our technology consists of 3 segments, like material composition, manufacturing process, and specially designed machines to manufacture them into products. We hold multiple national and international patents for the innovation. Our products are tested and certified at various national and approved laboratories. So if you see the problem which we are solving is on the 2 market front. One is the plastic recycling market, which is growing at a CAGR of 5.4, which is like, it would be around $34 billion market by 2025. And on the other side, there is a huge demand of precast concrete, and the market is exponentially growing because we are moving from site manufacturing to factory manufacturing approach and reducing the time of development at the site. And therefore, we see that that market is also going at a CAGR of 4.4, which is also a great number. So close to the problem which we are solving, our solution will be close to like addressing a market value of around $200 billion by 2027. So that's where we see that our technology is a right fit. And if we scale it across India or let's say pan globally, we would be solving 3 biggest problems on this earth. One is the plastic pollution, and that is happening on land as well as in the sea and marine life. Second is alternate building material, which are carbon negative in nature. So that means we are reducing the carbon footprint happening from one of the biggest polluter in construction industry, the cement, because we are not using it. And third is we are basically improving the scenario of development and urban infrastructure development. So that means there will be more rapidly developing infrastructure at affordable prices. That will be a kind of urban development approach as well. So that is where we have been solving at multiple levels. And so this is more about so this was more about my approach to the innovation from our side. And apart from this, if you see from my personal journey, I started in 2017. I went on to establish company in 2018. Then we basically ran some pilots and different kinds of development till the end of 2019. In 2020, COVID hit us all. And since we were a manufacturing company, we had to like wrapped up everything, and We started, I would say, the company Soltech 2.0 started in 2021. We almost lost most of the things, the assets and everything in 2020. We were looking to raise fund, and then suddenly the whole plan went into haywire. And what happened is, like, the only thing which kept us going was the perseverance to pursue the vision which we have embedded in us, that we want to do something into waste management in India, and we want to provide a better alternative and innovative solutions based out of Indian context and developed in India. And once it is validated, we would be offering this solution across the globe, a made in India solution for the globe. So that is what we have been our journey. And since 2021, we have been doing good into market. We've been supplying products. Right now, we are looking for pilots with 3 corporates in India across 3 different regions. And since once this corporate pilot innovations also come in, we will be scaling up with their support to different parts and geographies of India as well. We, as a company, we are a 3 times national award winner for Swachh Bharat Mission Urban, Swachh Bharat Mission Gramin, that we got this year itself. Then we have been winner of Affordable Sustainable Housing Accelerator, which is one of the affordable housing programs by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. And that we were being awarded as well in 2021. So our journey has been a very roller coaster ride, but I would say the only difference between a smart person and I would say an intelligent person, smart person, or any other person, and an entrepreneur is the courage. If you have the ability and the courage to take decisions, to take some kind of steps, I think that would make you an entrepreneur. You might find better intelligent people, smarter people than you, better skilled people than you. But the only difference it makes between an entrepreneur and a non-entrepreneur guy is the courage, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing about your experience. And what I really liked is that how you acknowledge that Shani Sir's incubation center actually helped you launch. So it really tells us young people a lot about, how we can have initiatives which help each other. So I actually wanted to ask you something related to that. How can college students become entrepreneurs and how can they plan for it?
So basically, if there are multiple government policies as well right now, where even if you are in college, you can get some kind of fundings related to, in Gujarat, there is a student startup and innovation policy where you can get anywhere between 2 lakh to 5 lakh, depending on the use cases and the programs, to basically iterate your ideas. So the first thing is you cannot become an entrepreneur by just thinking of becoming an entrepreneur. You have to do your some kind of homework first. So when you have an idea, you iterate that idea, you do some kind of trial error, you see how it is working or not, whether it is a business model idea or it is a product driven innovation idea. You have to come up with some kind of use cases in order to convince anybody more. So for example, SSIP, you don't need all the convincing part. You need a concept, you need how you will approach that problem. And if they are convinced, each college has some kind of funding available through Department of Government Gujarat. So they can access you that funding and you basically iterate that idea. Then basically, if you are able to do a demonstration on that, you can basically present that ideas to more incubation centers like PDPU and multiple other places where they will help you to get more funds and scale that innovation to a second stage. So from prototype, you might be scaling it to MVP. From MVP, you might be scaling to a product, actual product, and then to a commercialization. So there are stages in a journey, but as a student startup, the approach should be how handy and lean you can do and iterate the ideas and get some 2-3 lakh rupees or 5 lakh rupees to kind of do the trial and error, and then test that model, see how it is working, go to your professors, ask for help, go to your region-wise incubation centers, ask for help, because we don't have anything to lose, right? As a student, the only thing is to gain. Whatever will happen in experience gain or whatever our resource gain. So that is how the approach should be, in my opinion. I think Shani would be able to tell you more because he has seen both the sides. And I was the guy who approached Shani way back. And at that time, I basically on LinkedIn, I messaged him that I'm looking for this kind of support and everything. So I think that should be the approach.
Thank you, sir. Shani sir, would you like to add?
I just want to kind of share with a young students here is it's Aditya rightly said at the end of his speech that one should to have a courage to take decisions, right? So in a life when they are a third, fourth, or second or first year students, right? They have not much thing to lose other than the time, right? So they have to provide time, energy, and efforts. Funding is easily available nowadays, right? So if they're able to provide time, energy, and efforts, right? The journey is both the ways, idea to business, that is one. Second, at the same time, 1% to n number of person team, right? So both the things are going to be a parallel, and you are going to learn over the time. So it's not like that day one you're going to learn everything by your own. Entrepreneurship is a subject of practice. It's a subject of practice. By doing it, you're able to learn it, right? So my recommend would be if you're thinking to start tomorrow, forget it. Start it from today. There is that's courage you have to take as a decision. That is what I recommend young people to do it.
Thank you so much. We also have this question for Aditya sir that it's pretty well known that, people who are in construction, they are a little conservative with their ideas of buildings and all. So how has the response been from builders related to the materials that you're pitching them?
Yeah. So there is a reason why we went through a specific approach of going for secondary building material as a market. In my PPT, you have not seen that I am not making a product to make actual building as such. So there are many restrictions regarding that. There is a national building code in India. There are multiple kind of IS code for building materials, which we have to basically provide for our material as well. And if you don't have them, then it is very difficult to basically go for an actual building or construction sector. That is where we thought that it will take time, the IS codes and everything. These are very tedious process. It will take time. So what should we do the first to get into the market and see how the product can be go? So we went on to see the different market segment where there was not a building code requirement, although there was IS code requirement, but that were only pertaining to the strength and the criteria of the products. So that is where we thought if we are able to match the strength of the product, why not we can supply a product in this segment? And that is where we came up with pavement, flooring, outdoor walling, and those markets. In these markets, you don't have that I would say stringent regulation for every material has to have a code first, then only they can go, because they have even allowed construction and demolition waste to be basically recycled into paver blocks way back in 2010. So if that approach makes sense, why not we also provide an alternate in that segment first? If that goes well over a period of time, then slowly and steadily we can come up with more innovation and more research and development to basically diverse ourselves into the actual in situ building construction as well. So the first approach was to go for less stringent process applications. That was for secondary applications, not primary. So roads, footpath, pavements, because in those segments, there were already some kind of waste utilization policy was there, like construction and demolition waste to paver block or plastic waste to roads. And so that is where we thought that it is a right fit and we can basically tackle that approach. Most of the time what happens is in innovation, it's not about just how you select your domain or market. It's more about your bandwidth as well. Can you tackle that? Do you have expertise in that? That is more important because most of the times what will happen is your skill set versus the market. If you are going into a market where your skill set is not going to work, even if your product is product market fit, you're going to lose it. So most of the times you should approach in a way that your skill set versus your market fitment, if that works, even if the product is still, I would say, somewhat less in terms of market fit, you might be able to get the success because of your skill set. Because product is one part, whole concept, the whole execution is the second part. So that is,
Right.
both are very important.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for sharing that with us, sir. I'll move on to Shani, sir, and ask him a couple of questions that we got on the chat. The first one is, how did he explore funds to begin the startup and during the initial stage of his entrepreneurship?
So I consider two things as startups. One thing is when we started an incubation center, right? So I just want to say that also require a fund because we are fresh graduates, right? At the same time, our parents' expectation that we go for a placement, we take job in the Reliance and that kind of companies, right? But we selected a different path altogether. So at that time, what we have did is we requested university for some fund, right? And they given us a time slot of 3 months to prove yourself, right? That incubation center idea is good for a college, right? It's required for a college. So what happened was at the same time in Gujarat, there was one event which was called as Vibrant Gujarat Global Summit, which was hosted in our college, right? Where they called some of the professors from MIT Media Lab USA. In the same time frame where we got our kind of a 3 month of a timeline to prove ourselves, right? Over 10 lakhs of funding, which was granted to us, right? What we did was we organized MIT Media Lab Design Innovation Workshop and called 28 MIT mentors to PDU for 7-day long hackathon. It was one of the biggest and one of the best hackathon we hosted in the PDU campus for 7 consecutive days. We raised funds from corporates like Samsung, Kane, and multiple other people at that time, right? We had not utilized any single rupees from the grant given to us, right? And we organized one of the finest event where MIT's 28 mentors came to PDP. So what happened was when they were kind of judging what impact we are able to create. So we are able to create 78 prototypes, raise external funding from corporates. And third, 28 mentors were there in the PDP campus, which was done the first time in the PDP's history. When they called one professor from MIT, they spent 30-35 lakhs rupees to call one mentor from US to PDP. We have not spent any single rupee to call them here, right? So that was kind of initial phase where we have to win the trust of them. That enabled us to achieve kind of a approach to the various government authorities, various private corporates to raise funds for our incubation centers. So we reach out to them, they funded the incubation centers, then our salaries, everything become a self-sustainable. So that was kind of initial models, that's one. Over the years, what happened was we created products for CSR, for example, torch for the blind people. That was one of the product of PDP Incubation Center. So we helped them to get a kind of orders, part of CSR from ONGC and multiple other corporates, right? And we charge overhead charges from them. So that was clear to the ONGC as well. That also made our organization self-sustainable. That is one. For PowerTree, it was both the way journey because I was working 5 to 6 years with the incubation center. So I invested my entire capital for starting the venture. So that was difficult time because I got married in 2018. I started my company in 2018. Right? I invested all. I left the job from BDPU. I applied kind of all the savings to the business. Yes, that was a difficult decision. But yes, Aditya rightly said, courage required. You need a courage to start a business, right? So that I have taken as a courage. So that was one of the fun. At the other time, we raised multiple government grants. We got multiple clients onboarded. So, for example, ONGC was one of the first client. Gandhinagar Smart City was one of the biggest clients in initial years, right? Statue of Unity was our clients, right? We made profits out of these orders, reinvested that money into the business, recruited the team from the profits, right? We have not taken over the profit to the home, right? We invested that entire profit because any business requires 1,000 days to become profitable, minimum 1,000 days to become profitable. Dandama 1,000 divas ho, if anyone is Gujarati around, right? Danda require 1,000 days of patience, right? That we had given for first 3 years. And because of that, our 4th and 5th year, we are scaling exponentially. We are growing 10x, not 1x, 2x, we are growing 10x. So that helped us reinvesting in people, investing in the team, scaling the team, scaling multiple other efforts, doing research and development for the company, partnering with other startups like Aditya, where we are making together solar tiles, right? Where his material is going to be back material, my solar technology, and we are making solar tiles together. So that kind of partnerships which we are doing. So that's how we have to kind of reinvest the capital which we earn. So if you ask any entrepreneur, any big entrepreneur from Mukesh Bhai to anyone, their bank statement is always going to be negative because they always reinvest their money into something else, right? Or to the working capital or to achieve more growth. So that's how the capital is managed in both the ventures of during my tenure. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I think we got real-time insights, and it was actually a very great feat what you achieved in your college. So a second question that we have, and after that we'll move on, is that entering business is generally dealt with apprehension by most of the middle class families. How much do entrepreneurs need to rely on communication skills to generate support for their ventures? Kindly share some challenges you faced during working with teams in fresh ventures. Shani sir, you can go, and then Aditya sir, you can answer.
So in India, family play a very important role. So in my case, my parents were decision maker till my graduation. Still till that they take majority of the decisions, right? Because in the typical Indian atmosphere, right, we believe a lot of things are taken care by our parents as a decision, right? For me, both the time it was difficult because I was getting good job offers when I was fresh kind of a graduate from PDU as a chemical engineer, and staying at PDU and pursuing the incubation center dream was a difficult time at that time. But I got that convincing skill as well. So I got them convinced at that time. The real difficult part was when I was kind of leaving the PDPU as well as a full-time job, right? So what as a trick I did was, because I wanted to make sure that they are in confidence. So what I did was, before resigning from the incubation center, because I stay with my grandparents, right, and then they're one of the most kind of they never taken a loan in their entire life. I'm the first one to take it. So that's how they. It's difficult. So what I did was, I said to my grandfather and said, "Dada, I nokri chhodi na aayo." So I a little left the job before leaving the job because I just wanted to see his reaction, and I might require your support, right? And I just hugged him. Can you help me at that time now, because I want to do business. I don't want to do job. So that was 2 days before the leaving the job, and the response which I got from my grandfather, right? Okay, beta, that decision you already have taken decision, right? I am with you. So go ahead with it, right? That given me a different kind of courage to say my current mentor and ex-boss that I now want to pursue full-time as a business opportunity. So communication, that also answers communication, because this is everything is communication. Everything you have to maintain as communication. So this is what I did when I wanted to get them convinced, right? It was a really difficult task. One of the most difficult tasks. Dhando Chalao is easy now. To convince parents and specifically my grandparents was a task. My wife is good. She's able to get convinced in whatever I do, right? Aditya knows about it. But yes, my parents and grandparents was a difficult task for me. And the communication played very important role to get it convinced. And normally I advise entrepreneurs that because I was a very shy person when I was a student, right? I always like to be a second person. When working with the PDP, I always wanted to be a backhand person. I was never good at speaking anything, right? I was a terrible public speaker. But if you want to become a good entrepreneur, right, and you have to lead the team from a front, communication is going to be one of the most important asset which you have to learn if you are not having it, right? Because majority of the entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, are good storytellers, right? And you have to tell stories in and out for everything and every day. And when someone asks, what is your dream, right? My dream is speaking about my entire story and life journey in front of the president, right? So that's how you have to be a good communicator as an individual, as an entrepreneur. That helps to motivate your own team at initial stage, because you are a young entrepreneur. You are not an experienced person, right? If any experienced person is there, you're working under him, right? You know that he has an experience of 20 years, 25 years, right? You are a young person, 22, 24, 26 age, right? And you have to lead the team, which might be more experienced than you, might be more powerful than you, right? And you have to lead the team from a front. And the communication is going to be key to lead them from a front, because in other areas they might be good, but the communication, if your entrepreneur is good, you are good, then it's going to help you a lot. That is what my advice to the young students here.
Thank you so much. Aditya sir, would you like to add something?
Yeah, so just a small thing. So it's highly difficult for convincing a family because I can say this very simply that if you start a venture or if you decide to start a venture, it's not only you who is involved in that specific venture, it's whole of your family. Anything and everything related directly to you is basically being a part of your venture. So it can be your parents, it can be your spouses, it can be your girlfriend, anybody. Because the moment you decided to start a venture, you decided to dedicate your time for a specific purpose, for a specific period, and that will basically, that time you will cut out from the time you are going to give it to your family and friends and other people. So that is where if you start to decide a venture, all of everybody who is involved with you is basically starting a venture. Let's say it very, very casually in this way. The other thing is if you want to convince your parents or family, it's very difficult. For me, it has taken almost 3.5 years. So the day I started my journey, till the day I got the national award from first national award from Honorable Prime Minister, my mother used to send me every notification coming for a government job in the market. So my whole family is into government jobs. And my grandfather was in railway, my mother is in railway, almost all people. My uncle is in BSNL, everybody. So my whole family is into from services background. And so their understanding is if you are good in studies, if you are at certain level, why don't you prepare for a government job, get a good government job, everything like sorted and all those things. So most of the time, so till 3.5 years of starting my journey, my mother used to send me every notification coming from the government job to me saying that please apply to it, please apply to it. And most of the time she has taken it to a point where I had to apply and give it her the admit card that I have applied and I will go for the exam. Although I will not go, but that is what the level, like I have spent monies on that for that examination fees and everything. Just to basically tackle her at that time because I was not having a proper response, what I'm doing and what it is going to be and everything. Her questions were very, very, very specific. How much you will earn, how much you are going to give it back to home. Are you going to make yourself sustainable or you are going to be on my funds and family's funds for your life or all those things. So yeah, it is very hard to convince them. But what happens is if you have made your mind, if you are determined to achieve this, the only thing which will matter to you is your venture and your, I would say, passion towards it. And that basically over dominates everything else. Although it's not that you are not loving your parents, you are not caring for them. It's just that you have an understanding of certain things which they don't have because of their context and minimum exposure. That, let's say it this way, because in my family nobody has started a venture or done a business. They were not aware about the business, and they were like, the first time I said I want to do business, all of them were like so depressed, like something very bad happened to in the family. All of them were like that. So that is where I see that they have very minimum exposure. That is the reason they might not be able to understand. It's just not that they are not they do not want good for you. They always want good for you. It's just that their context of understanding is very limited to the perspective where they are seeing. And that is where you sometimes you have to basically see their perspective as well, but then do what you are determined to do. And then over a period of time, if your efforts and things are making sense, and they are also able to understand that, then there will be time you might not even need to convince them. But there might be time where if they are not able to understand, then you have to prove some benchmark in order to convince them. And that is where my national awards and multiple other things help me, that to convince that I am doing a right thing, and then government is recognizing it. You being my parent at least should recognize it. so
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing which helped me to get through that. Now I don't have that kind of kind of daily nagging to me. But yeah, still sometimes when my mother is talking to me, let's say like I'm going for Diwali to home. So one time she will surely say that if you would have a government job, it would have been so much better, right? No, business is also good, but government job would have been so much better, right? My ex-boss is like this, he is like this, she is like this. So like some points she will try to pinch it again because although she is a mother, she is always worried about us. So that is still there, but that does not affect that much right now. So the most of the things is if you are determined, you will either convince them or you will live with it that they are not convinced, but I have to do this in order to make it a successful thing, and then they will get along with me. That's the approach I think would work for most of the time.
Thank you so much, Aditya, for sharing that. Thank you, Shani. Thank you, Aditya. I am sure people really loved your session. And we'll have a panel discussion where we'll take up some of the other questions that came in for you. I'll move on to the next speaker for now. Next up, we have Mr. Rajiv Vahel. He's the Director of Natural Resource Management and Agroecology at GIZ India. He'll be speaking to us about Project Irada, an Indo-German experience on strengthening green livelihoods and rural resilience. Mr. Rajiv works in GIZ India as Director for Natural Resource Management and Agroecology in the Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resource Management Program. He leads several Indo-German projects, including Irada on enhancing rural resilience through appropriate development action, WOSCA on water security and climate adaptation in rural India, Swati on supporting agroecology transformation processes in India, sustainable soil management, sustainable agriculture and aquaculture, public-private partnerships, among others. Rajiv has over 35 years experience in working with international agencies, governments and private sector in India and African countries on these issues. He has majored in electrical engineering for his graduation and holds a diploma in international program for organizational and systems development. He's also an author of technical and fiction publications and is based in Delhi, India. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. I'll pass it over to you now.
Thank you very much. And I would like to compliment UNICEF for this wonderful initiative to reach out. I'm also happy that I have with me my colleague Mika, who actually leads the Irada project and will also help me with questions later on and will make it more interesting for you all. My request is for Mika to put on the PPT. Yes. So I think this is very interesting because when the earlier speakers were speaking, I was going back about 35 years into my life when this sort of work was, which is mostly around social and rural development and constitutes a very interesting and unique way to give back to the society while also being able to earn your livelihood, was very new. And I faced the same question for years and years, only till a point now where I think this has become very well known. So we thought that we would share with you this whole aspect of development, NGOs, social work, development cooperation. So I'll begin by first sharing what is the framing of this cooperation, who is GIZ. So basically, when two countries decide to support each other on a development cooperation around aspects of poverty, agriculture, livelihoods, climate change, all the topics that you hear of today, then the work on this is where they decide to bring in technical expertise to support each other, also bring in the requisite financing, also take up pilot initiatives to try out innovations within the system to see what works for the challenges that are known. And if those things work, then how to scale them up. Now, the development cooperation between Germany and India is almost 63 years old. The journey started in the 60s when India was struggling after famines with basic food security and a lot of the German support after the Second World War. they were reaching out and supporting developing countries all over. The support was more now around helping bring basic agriculture up to shape, getting the poverty reduction to happen. And there's been a large evolution of this as we go forward over the years into topics of watershed, into working with value chains on different commodities of agriculture, seeing how farmers and markets can connect, seeing how the overall policies and programs of the government that intend to do it, how can they be improved. So GIZ, in that sense, is the technical implementation agency for the German development support to India. Of course, GIZ is the global organization, just like UNICEF and the other UN organizations. We have almost 25,000 people working with them, with us. And almost 70% of this is national staff. So only 30% is international staff. And our footprint is around 120 countries, of which India is what is called an anchor country between Germany and India. In terms of, the meeting of the minds and political priorities, Germany and India on 2nd of May of this year signed an agreement that all cooperation will be focused on how green and sustainable development could be enhanced. And within that, there have been a number of other joint declarations, including on this topic called agroecology, which is actually how do you take agriculture and do it in a way where it doesn't harm and damage the ecology the way it is doing right now because of indiscriminate use of pesticides, chemicals, water, and then how to make it in a way where it depends on ecology, promotes ecology, and also is able to give the food that we want. But we'll discuss this going forward a bit more. Mika, next slide, please. Now, of course, in India, and I shared with you, what do we do? We work very closely with government and public institutions, mostly the ministries, the state governments, institutions like NABARD, which is a national bank for agriculture and rural development. So we, from the global experiences and also because of technical experts that we have, we analyze the issues and are able to give advice to all levels of the government, state, national, district, block. We also work with all sectors of the society. So in implementing, we'll work closely with civil society organizations, research institutions, academic institutions, panchayats. So all aspects of all stakeholders who are necessary to change the way the world is, we work closely with them. And we are increasingly realizing that this cannot be done in silos. All agriculture is affected the way we look at renewable energy. Renewable energy use is affected if agriculture starts using it in a big way, and there's an impact on climate. And therefore, there's also the reduction on use of water if you do it smartly. So all these aspects are related, and how can you bring them together? Because very often, many institutions are implementing this on a very siloed approach. So of course, we do policy advice, as I said. One core area for us is having done these trials and seen what could work. India's scale is gigantic. You're looking at 600,000 villages, 270,000 panchayats. The variation between a village in Leh to a village in, say, Tuticorin or in Tamil Nadu or in Eastern India, in Northeast or Andaman, the socio-cultural agroclimatic variations are very big. What we basically do is we derive from them tools of how such approaches can be scaled out across India and do capacity development at a large scale. So in some of the work we've done with Ministry of Rural Development, we've trained almost 65,000 technical experts of the ministry all over India. We also look at how to bring in innovation, technology, especially digital technologies, and I think that would be of interest to many of you here. How could this be leveraged to change the way society is? We also look at if this has to happen, where does the finances for it come in the future? Can banks give it? Can people generate it themselves? So all sorts of trials happen, and this is the sort of work we've been doing. Now, in terms of knowledge, I think, and we believe, is really the change agent. And all that we put together, we put it into massive open online courses, into training tools, into talks, into manuals, into discussion forums, into events, because the more we share this knowledge, the more it improves, and then better it will be picked up and taken forward. Next slide, please. Now, 4 areas because of the 2 governments and agreed priorities that we work on. So, sustainable development, how, which aspects, what to push, given all what sorts of possibility. Clean energy and energy efficiency is one. Sustainable urban and industrial development is the other one. Climate and environment, and this is the focus from which Mika and I come from, the project that we're talking about. And of course, how to bring private sector in and how to look at inclusive healthcare. So these are the 4 thematic pillars around which almost 85 of our bilateral projects and multiple other instruments are focused on in India. Next slide, please. Now, I would like to speak a bit more about IRADA, which basically means, the name, if you see the full form, is Enhancing Rural Resilience, so Appropriate Development Action. And as you can see, it is a cooperation between the Ministry of Economic Cooperation and the Ministry of Rural Development in India here. Next slide, please, Mika. Now, I think how this project is interesting and why we thought we should share this with you. If you remember when COVID happened in India and the first lockdown was declared, and we all saw on various forms of media outside our streets, people we know, hundreds of thousands of people who had come to cities or to new places to find work or had been working, now struggling to get back to their villages. So in a sense, COVID pandemic made visible a huge amount of internal displacement or movement and migration that happens within India. Now, of course, migration is a very effective, useful, and important tool for global growth and growth of India. I mean, people like me, I belong to Himachal, I'm sitting in Delhi, I'm a migrant. But I think many of us are migrants aspirationally. We chose to move, we found better opportunities, we went positively towards it. Much of the migration, the distress migration that we see, which is invisible, is where people don't have a choice. They can't get enough occupation, livelihoods in the places where they are. And therefore they're forced out, and very often at very, very poor terms and choices with their poor skills, and they become the urban refugees and they struggle. So this project then focuses on really working with this group of vulnerable people and seeing how this could be reversed. Of course, a lot of these factors are very large. Is my voice not clear? Hello?
It is clear. I can hear you.
Okay, because I just saw a comment and I thought, let me check. Okay, thank you. Thanks for the feedback. Thanks, Ravinder, as well. So, in a sense, the focus here was now a lot of these factors that we're talking about, which lead to migration, are very huge. There is 1/3 of India is facing scarcity of water. Almost 60%, 70% of water use in rural India is for agriculture, and if water is not available, then how would agriculture work well? Almost 70% of Indian farms are totally dependent on rain. They are not single crop farms. There are disasters that are happening, and climate change events are changing the way the predictability of water and other aspects that were crucial to rural livelihoods, not just agriculture, aquaculture, all sorts of things. So in a sense, while there are these big staggering factors, we thought, could there be things that we can do to make sure that the people don't have to move, they don't want to move, and this is the work that we do. I will share a bit more about it. Next slide, Amika. Yes. So, of course, the idea, as I said, is how do you strengthen livelihoods of vulnerable people? So, what we said and thought was, I know how many of you are aware that India has world's largest global largest social security program called Mahatma Gandhi Narega. Now, it's in the news for all sorts of positive and negative reasons, but I must tell you that it remains probably the first point of call for any rural family which just doesn't have enough work. And all it needs to do is send an SMS or go to the panchayat and say that we are not having enough work and we need to have enough, we need more work. And the government constitutionally is duty bound to provide them up to 100 days of work within 5 kilometers of where they live. And this work is low, skill. It's manual. It could be done easily by anybody. So what we are doing is that we are working, and this is a huge fund. You're looking at this year around 73,000 crores. So the idea here is to how do we leverage such funds that are already available to enhance the wage work where it is available. Second is the sort of topics that I talked about, the aspects of natural resources that are not in balance are getting further out of imbalance because of the climate events. What could we do to bring these back to a better balance, enrich them, rejuvenate them? So can the work of wages be used to do soil protection, water conservation, soil development, soil health, improved agriculture, horticulture, so that 5 years from now, the very area people are living in improves, so that then they don't have to move out or depend all the time on wages. And of course, to do all of this, it's very important that we bring together many different government schemes, almost 64 of them from all the ministries, bring together CSR front, bring together private sector as social entrepreneurs. And then the focus is to improve the lives and living incomes of 100,000 vulnerable households. Next slide, please. I think what is very interesting in an approach that we're following, we are not saying setting levels of poverty, and we are not even thinking that just doubling the poverty would help. In some cases, it could. So we are doing two things. One is we are looking at the income of a household, because that is the basic unit at the village level. Ultimately, if 2-3 members earn, it is the household income and they help each other out, and that's how it's stabilized. Second part is we look at, in a given context, what is the actual requirement of that family? And if you look at the right-hand table, and this PPT we will share later with you, it looks at the household size, the cost of food, housing costs, maintenance each year, the education costs, transportation costs, unexpected events, for all sorts of possibilities that could happen. And when you put that cost together, then you see, is the net income that the family getting enough? If it's not, that gap is what we need to address to really provide resilient households in the rural areas. And that's what this project is trying to do. At the bottom, you will see a link. If you go into that, you can find out more about this living income benchmark and how this can be used even by others. Next slide, please. Now, what is the cycle that we are looking at? So obviously, to do this, we first need to look at, understand the problem. So we need to review, analyze the problem in a local area. Then, like I was saying, immediate first succor improvement can be looking at what wages are locally available and see how wage employment can be connected to them. So wages like Mahatma Gandhi, Narega and all are available. Many people don't know about it. They don't know how to access it. So help them with that. And as we said, there can be strengthened their asset base at a family and at a household and at a village level. Can we improve can we do eco restoration? Can we look at their ponds? So this long, medium term aspects as well. And then we will look at how to diversify it and how to really reduce the risk. So what could be the other options even beyond fields? Then we need to enhance their capacity to build their skills to take on such other opportunities, and then look at the long-term resilience of the household and the village. We'll give you some examples on that. Yeah. So next slide, please. Now, I did talk to you about a little bit about the Mahatma Gandhi Narega. No? If you really look at the scale of it, this is unprecedented. You know, sometimes what things that we do in our country don't seem significant to us. But if you look globally, nobody else is doing something like this. So if I already explained the scheme to you, I mean, right now you're looking at 16 crore households, which which are actually working. I mean, total registration is 31 crores households have said at some point or the other that they need wage work, out of which each year 16 crore households are actually doing the work. And what work? So there's a whole menu of 260 activities, which are all the way from working on their farms, on common resources like common lands, forest plantation, tree plantation, horticulture plantation, soil and land improvement, water conservation, watershed management. So they could decide what they want to do and pick up any of these activities, especially 180 of them, which are on the natural resource side. So there's a strong basis there. And I talked to you already about the budget, the size. So the important thing that has been happening in our work with Ministry of Rural Development is using digitalization more and more. So now every asset ever created on Mahatma Gandhi using this fund is now geotagged and is actually marked on a map where anybody from the public can go and see. You can see which day was it made, how much money was it spent, which are the people who worked on it. So there's a huge amount of transparency, accountability, and sharing. The other important story, which I'm sure many of you are aware about, is another quiet or maybe not so quiet revolution that's been happening in India, is the National Rural Livelihood Mission. Now, this is again a Government of India program. Each state that you belong to has a state rural livelihood mission as well. And now, what do they do? Their focus was that can we organize people to take care of themselves? So one is this whole Narega and supporting individuals and families with work. One is, can we create groups that become entrepreneurs by themselves? So there's been a huge amount of work done where self-help groups have been created. And so self-help group, and many of you may be aware, 8 to 10 women come together. They put together 10 to 15 to 50 rupees per month. They create a small corpus. They start using it for their own use. Individually, they lend it to each other. So in a sense, from just an institution, they start becoming a financial institution. And they also start becoming an implementation institution where one of them may take a cow, which she alone or would not have been able to, ever buy, and start a business of her own. And slowly these self-help groups are beginning to create more and more production-oriented groups. And their self-help groups have federations. So if one self-help group is not using the money, they pull it into the federation. The federation is able to do interlending. And these self-help groups, as per government regulation now, are recognized and can go to any bank and without a collateral can take loans as well. So, and India, everything is size. So you're looking at almost 80 lakh self-help groups. And if you multiply that with an average of 8, look at almost 8 crore of women are actually organized. So in the work that we are doing, are we talking to these groups? And we do in our work, but just wanted to reach out to you. The amount the government spent, around 30,000 crores, more about capacity building, reaching out to them. But ultimately, a lot of the work these self-help groups do is actually taking money from the market or developing their own, corpus and using that to create new projects and implement them. Mind you, there are also specific types of youth groups which are recognized as part of NRLM and can work in the same way. And also, many states have really fantastic. Jharkhand, Kerala, you should look up their programs of how they've used these groups to totally change the way, the rural economy is and the rural society is. Next slide, please. Now, of course, this project that I talked about, now 6 states in India contribute the maximum number of migrants that go across to work. And out of that, the government asked us to work for 4, Rajasthan, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, and Jharkhand. And here you will see the districts where we are starting our pilot approaches. In Madhya Pradesh, we have started looking at, many of you may have heard the Prime Minister's program, where he wants, where almost 75 water bodies or sarovars or lakes are being built in each district. So we are now working to see in Madhya Pradesh how these could be used for aquaculture, for fishery, and can groups earn, individuals earn from it. We are looking in Khandwa and into integrated, and I'll come to one case example later. So almost in each of them, we're trying to find what could be goat level activities, mushroom cultivation, high value agriculture, different ideas that already exist, but really make them happen at scale, focused on people, not just the people who are enterprising and can sometimes do it on their own, but actually on some of the most vulnerable. And what do they need really? to become then enterprising. So that gap, that capacity input, that resource input to shift people who are in a very, very self-pitying, dependent place to really be able to, and their resolve to fight, help them to fight this and get out of the situation they're in. Next slide, please. Now, the three focuses of action that we really want to, and we would like to reach out to all of you to see if you'd like to be a part of this. We want to skill 8,000 women and youth in these districts to begin with, to create, like I said, micro enterprises around agriculture, livestock, tree and forest based incomes, non-farm sector, mobile repairing, being an hub for village, all sorts of things. And we are working with institutions in these states and these districts to provide a mentoring support. So I would even also request some of the entrepreneurs here, if they would like to be mentors and support this program. And then, of course, all of this only works if they are able to sell. So how do we help them to market it? I mentioned the programs that we want to use, leverage from the government side. I leave the list there. But most importantly, the green job part. Can we now look at frontier technologies like solar pumps? Can we see how solar pump repair, how to install solar pumps, solar panels, all sorts of these areas in time to come, changing the batteries, how to recycle batteries of the e-vehicles. Can these be the areas for youth and others to pick up? Next slide, please. Yes. Now, one interesting thing from Madhya Pradesh, and obviously I went through the logic of doing analysis, looking at the demand, working with SNGs, creating the market products and helping them to market, and then get into a community level development. But interestingly, for many of you, especially who are digitally interested, we've been doing this using geographical information systems, using Bhuvan portal, using Google, and actually getting villages and many of these people to be able to analyze the resources available, where the population is, where the water is, where the crop is, what to do, plan around it. And this is also something that the government is using to then further develop their implementation programs and provide the support. So this technology platform of geographical information system is becoming a great leveler and a great integrator, which is the basis for then rolling this out to the whole country. Next slide, please. Mika, next slide, please. I think it's not moving. Can you hear me? Yes. One before, Mika. Yeah, thanks. So we wanted to reach out to you to share this as an opportunity for you to be, connected with us or take this up at your own level. We have mentioned a few areas and some sites where you can get more information, more fellowships. Of course, we have internship opportunities limited, but this is also possible where you have our website there. We've also put in Aspirational District Fellow, which is a big one, Ashoka Fellowship, which is a very focused but a very empowering one. And we will also encourage you to go on to the last two sites that are there and look at further at globally what is happening in terms of social protection and also how the youth are being involved in it. So with those words, I hand it back to you. And also, Mika, in case if you want to add something, if I missed something. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir, for introducing this whole project to us. We actually have a couple of questions for you in the chat. Are the vulnerable households involved in the resource development in their local area, or is it the corporation that takes full charge of every project?
That's a very good question. So you all remember now that story about not to give the fish, but to teach people how to fish, right? So, and development cooperation, we believe we are only here for a project period. I joke with my teams that our birth date may be known, but our death date is known for sure, the day the project comes to a close. So what we do is all the work that we do, and you will see it in all of our work, is always done with our partner ministries, partner institutions, with the communities. All the testing and trials happen with them. Idea being, if it works, then they anyway take it up, and then they show to everybody how it is to be done. We just help provide the capacity building for scaling it up, the policy, the papers, the evidence for the government to pick it up and take it across, and then we're gone. Or we pass it on to another project, another partner who would be interested to scale it up. I hope that answered your question. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. We also have another question by Nishant Venugopal. In projects involving multinations as partners, how much is the knowledge of languages and cultures of various countries important?
No, I think that is at the core of it, See, ultimately, any of these interventions that we talked about, and I was listening to also the entrepreneurs individually who were talking, all change that we want externally, even and human beings being the core of it, because we are the ones who have damaged it, and we are the ones who are trying to repair it or become then also benefited from entrepreneurs. The behavior change of an individual is the most important thing. And that behavior change is rooted very, very strongly in the culture, in the belief systems of different communities. And if we just create synthetic models of development, they'll be like Teflon, oil will not soak into it. It'll just float on it. So I think this is at the core of it. If we don't understand why people do what they do and how they can be convinced to do it in a different way, and that it becomes their priority, not ours, things will not change. So I'm totally with you. Languages, culture, belief systems. Sadly, from our modern management and development approaches, we think we have a fix for everything. Some technology we will develop will change people's minds. It is one of the instruments, but in the end, human being is the core, and knowing and understanding human being requires that. Yeah, back to you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think your presentation really showed us your knowledge and expertise over the years of working in this domain with multiple stakeholders. I would actually like to call all the speakers now to move on to the panel discussion, where we have some common questions for people, which you can answer as per your convenience. If all the panelists could just switch on their cameras, then I could begin asking the common questions. Okay, some of the questions. Second. Okay, so one of the questions for Rajiv sir is, does GIZ work in eco-restoration and forest projects in India? If so, is there any opportunities for internships there?
Yes, we have 3 or 4 projects on forest ecosystem restoration. They are in the states of Himachal, in Uttar Pradesh, in Madhya Pradesh. If you go to our website, you can find out the details. And like I was saying, the opportunities could be two. One is that there are positions advertised from time to time as the projects go forward, or you can also intern. But I would also say for many of these projects, you would find that when you go back to your college and discuss this with your professors and with your colleagues, or you may be already a part of a society which is looking at some of these things in a college. And you can also then reach out to our project teams in these districts, in these states, or even at a national level, and we can find ways to work together. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have always found GIZ to be a very welcoming space and collaborative one. So I definitely encourage everyone to reach out to them if you feel like you have the potential to get involved in a project. We also actually have another very interesting question by one of the attendees. What do you mean by good communication? Is it necessary to know good English? Whoever would like to take this up.
I can take that.
Yes, sure.
ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है कि आपका लैंग्वेज इंग्लिश ही होना चाहिए. It's communication is a two-way. right? It's not a one way. That is a communication. सामने वाले बंदे को अगर वो same चीज समझ में आती है in a similar language, that might not be the language as well, right? That might be the sign language. That might be anything else. You just get it convinced to other people around, right? That is a communication. So it's not required कि आपको English आनी ही चाहिए कि आपका वो होना ही चाहिए. So that is very simple thing to it. If anyone want to add it, I just want to say that English is not required. It's just a language.
Yes, sir. You want to say something?
Yes, sir. In fact, Samarjit Singh, a very famous motivation speaker in the YouTube, you could search for him. He used to say, English is a language where communication is an art, actually. Okay, there is the main difference, actually. Just because you know English doesn't mean that you could communicate. For a country like China, where the official language in the computer is also Chinese, knowing your local language is enough for you. Whereas a country like India, where there are around 3,000 languages, approved languages, and in that around 300 languages don't even have an alphabet. How do you communicate with a common language for something? If you are communicating with somebody in the local premises, okay, your language is enough. Like Shani said, your sign language is also enough. But it is important that when you are communicating with somebody out of your state, just to cross the border and your language is not good there. So what you do, you should say that you should develop a common language. And for all that matters now, English is a common one, which is accepted, and that is the language of the computer. When digitalization is coming more and more valent today, I think your ability to speak in English is a little required here rather than on a wish, actually. That's what my reasons are. Reading is one that helps you to have a good vocabulary, and from vocabulary you could understand things, and when you understand things you could reply. That's what I think the answer could be. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Rajiv sir, you want to?
Maybe just to add to this, I think is how do we communicate? Na? So I used to live in a village, and there was a post office which used to only open once a week. And I used to keep going there for those Indian letters in those days. And they were out of stock for 2-3 months. And this postman, old man, looked at me and he said, you know, you want to write, so why don't you take this postcard? It's just 5 paise. Indian letter is 15 paise. It's cheaper. I said, no, but I have much to say. So my earliest management lessons, he said, if you cannot write if you cannot communicate in a postcard what you want, you will not be able to do it even in an Indian letter. And I think, therefore, the art of communication is also, you meet somebody very important accidentally in a lift, and all you have is 15 seconds. How do you make that pitch? How clear are you? What is it that you're trying to say? Do we keep repeating things ad nauseum, or do we get our message through? And I think that is very important apart from the language part, right? So I think focusing our thought, focusing our intent, knowing what I want, and knowing what the other person can give.
Yes.
Or if cannot give, what is the shift I want to achieve? If this is clear, I think there will be a result-oriented communication. Yeah, back to you.
Thank you so much. I think the elevator pitches and concept which is really, I think, catching up, and people are realizing its importance now. I actually had a question, and this is the last one for Rajiv Nair sir. What are some courses which exist in planning, and also are there some other disciplines that people, from other disciplines who can join, like planning careers?
Yes. So getting to the question, there are multiple courses. At the bachelor's level, we offer only a Bachelor of Planning program, which is a 4-year program, very similar to BTech. Okay. And at master's level in India, we have a lot many programs, and it's not just limited in India. Abroad also, we have a lot of programs. And we do have PG diploma certification programs as well. Now it varies. It's not just limited. If you want to enter the field of planning, it need not just be a hardcore plan degree. Even people who have GIS specialization, GIS and remote sensing, all of them are involved in the planning domain. So it's not just limited to planning studies alone. And people from all walks of professional life, like sociologists, economists, GIS experts, biodiversity experts, everyone forms a part of the planning team. So it's a multidisciplinary profession.
Thank you so much, sir. It's good to know there's space for sociologists like us. And this is an excellent panel. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. And I can see that we have 315 people today, which is really great for the Diwali weekend panel. So I think you really attracted a lot of people to this session. I'll move on to one of our last speakers today, Mr. Subramaniam TR. He is a consultant trainer for TCS, housing finance companies and pharmaceutical companies. He'll be speaking to us about how to approach a job interview, the do's and don'ts which are present in the process. Sir is a graduate in botany with work experience of 22 years in pharma sales and 15 years of exposure in training. Empaneled as a trainer for various pharmaceutical companies and housing finance companies as well. He's associated with TCS Youth Employability from March 2018 onwards, a native of Kerala, now settled in Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu from 2000. Thank you so much, sir, for coming and agreeing to share your insights with us. I will pass it on to you now.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Am I audible? First of all, let me ask that question. Online meeting, always you should ask this question first. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Audible. And is my sharing rights is given to me?
Yes, sir. You can just share. I'll tell you.
One second. Look at that and tell me whether sharing rights are given to me. I think it is there, ma'am. I could see my screen there. So let me check first whether it is possible. Before that, a warm welcome to all of you who are here, around 300 plus. Generally, you will be on the streets mingling with the crowd to have a last minute purchase for your Diwali or buying your crackers. And nice that you are here to have your listening on the job interview as such. Let me share my screen. Is my screen is visible to you?
Yes, sir.
And I'm going on slide mode now. Is it on the slide mode now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Interview skills, what helps and what not is my topic of the day. In fact, after 2 or 3 people speaking about entrepreneurship, I don't, in fact, I am worried about how many of you are thinking about entrepreneurship rather than looking for a job interview. But if you are still looking, this is what I have for you today. And this is the typical picture of or a scenery of a typical job interview where you are on the one side of the table, or on the other side, there will be a swarm of people, or sometimes it will be a single people. It is about an interaction, the very word interview. It is inter between you and the management of the company. Okay, they are looking whether your credentials or the ability match what they require, and you are looking at whether the company suits you with the interaction with you. So it should happen on both ways. It is not that it is interview only, they ask question and you cannot ask question. That should be the first thing you should bear in mind. When an opportunity is given, of course, you could ask some question. What kind of a question? We'll come to later on that. Or this could be an interview or one of the most popularly used devices for employee selection, which is already told about you. And this could be the usual scenery. One-to-one discussion could happen, or there could be a panel of people interviewing with each other. And if it is one-to-one, you are a bit more relaxed because you could attend to one. But when it is a panel, you may be worried about who is asking the question next, and really worried about it. Sometimes it happens that 2 of them ask the question again. Again, don't worry. we will also have a way to how to address that as well. I hope that's fine, and let us move on. What is the prior to interview? I have made it into two parts actually. One is prior to interview and one is actual interview, what is taking place. And my first slide goes like this. Preparation is the key. Okay, that is for successful, any for that not one interview, for any attempt you make, preparation is the key. If you want to even watch a television serial also, you should see that the power is there, you are on the right channel, your remote is with you, all that matters, rightly. So for everything, the preparation is the key. For the job interviews also, preparation is the key. And this is part one of the preparation, which I am going to share with you. Practice makes perfect. That is a very old idiom, and it is hold good for interviews as well. In fact, I remember one of the anecdotes I read in paper about Sachin Tendulkar. During the marriage reception, one lady was speaking to the Sachin's family that I wish that I would have a son like Sachin. That's what the lady said. Sachin was overhearing that. He went up to the lady and commended that, madam, thank you for your compliments. But what you could say is, don't wish for a son like Sachin, but wish for a son who practices like Sachin. In fact, that is, in fact, I thought that is a wonderful way to speak actually from such a noble man, because he used to tell in other interviews how he come up with this kind of an average in cricket, because he will hang a rubber ball from a rubber thread, and that will just hang above 1 feet above the earth, floor, and he keep on hitting it to the nearest wall. And it is a rubber ball, it is a rubber thread. You don't know what angle it hit the ball and what angle it will come back. And Sachin is ready with his practice, whatever angle, it comes back to him. And that is why his average is one of the best in the cricket as of now. So there are reasons, there are instances such as was out on the first ball as well. So that is not the case here. In fact, what we are looking is a good average. So practice make perfect is the first thing. Ask your friend or your batchmate to ask questions about what are the possible questions that will come into the interview. If you have a same batchmate, you can ask questions on your major. That is the core subject, because in the technical round, that really gives you an upper hand, answering questions based on your technical round. You can ask from any questions from that, particularly in the last year of 6 or 7 subjects, you would have measured on the final year. And to see that you are getting in and out of that, and you could answer any questions. That is the first point. Practice makes it perfect. And know your core subject well. Yes, I have already told about that. It should be there in your brain. Okay, if suppose you are a botany graduate, what are the economic importance of some plants? If you are a commerce graduate, what is the balance sheet will tell to me about a company? If you are a chemistry graduate, I should know how chlorine is manufactured or bleaching powder is manufactured industrially, as well as in the laboratory. I should know the difference, because that is the where they really look the stuff for the stuff in the technical round. I should be able to tell that. For that, I should know it very well. What are the core subject? If it is some contemporary subject is there, you should know all the more. Say, like a COVID times, no, a company who is manufacturing disinfectant, no, it will be really, it will be a day for that person who is know how disinfectant manufactured, how it is manufactured economically. That person would have just walked into any company. If it is a contemporary subject, you should know more thought about that actually, and you should prepare more about what is significant on these days. That is, know your subject very well, and that too very well. That is point number 2. Point number 3 is research about the company. Nowadays, you have your best friend, Google Guru with you. You can research about any company. Suppose you have received an interview letter for a company, that too within 1 week, go out. So find about what the company is doing, what field they are in, what post you are selected for, and why they are expanding, and why do they have so much of vacancies recently, and where they are opening up here, which state they are operating, what is their profit margin. I should be able to tell. Support for a question, they may ask why you want to join this company. If you have researched well, Then you could give him, okay, with your full body language, you could say, sir, 1, 2, 3 points I could tell about this. And this is the reason I want to join the company. And fourth reason that I should make a livelihood also, sir. Just a joking as a reminder also, but your points should be very valid when they ask about the company. For that, your research really help. I hope everyone know about this, but still practices makes you perfect. Do some midnight burn or some midnight oil to see that you know about the company and you can walk with confidence to any conference room where the interviews held. Okay, that's my point. Next point. Then come about organizing your certificates and folder, because in an interview, eye contacts are very important. It is not good when you fumble for a certificate which you have won for an elocution on the 12th standard or something, because that is in your resume. For a change, they may ask, can you show me the certificate? Just like that, they could ask, because they might have bored asking too many technical questions. So they just want to see how much you are, in fact, elegant in other fields as well. So it really helps in showing you the good folder where you arrange your certificates in an order, your degree certificate or the PG certificate, whatever is the latest qualification, I mean the highest qualification being in the first folder, second folder for your undergraduate, then your +2, 10th mark list, etc. And from third or fourth folder, you could have your certificates. And if something is written on your resume, it should be with you. Maybe it is a elocution prize you won on a 10th standard, or doing your +2, you have won a chess championship, an inter-collegiate championship. If it is mentioned in the resume, you should have it. Because if they ask for it, you should have it with you, because you should not want to cut a sorry figure in front of others. So arranging your certificates in an order, this folder costs around 100, 120 rupees. Nowadays, even a decent cinema hall charge you more than that, and the pizza cost you more than that. So it will be good, worthwhile actually to spend on something like a good folder which you can organize your certificates in that. And come to the next point. Plan the route out. Where should I start with the bus or a car or a bike, or where I should start with from my house? Point number B, where I should change my mode of transport. Point number C, where I get down from the last mode of transport and I go to the office at point number D. I should know that. If you are relying too much on your Google Guru, I really warn you, this could be a dampener actually, because Google doesn't know which political party is attacking the other political party, and there is a whole procession is going on the road which leads to the company next day. So you should be very careful about planning your route and see that there is no procession on a local festival is blocking the way, and you have to go a roundabout way all the way. And always it is better to know an alternative route to the company where you could reach there even if one of the road is blocked as well. So planning the route out is also one of the best things, and knowing an alternate route also very well. Thank you very much. Next comes is a good night's sleep on the previous day. Okay. And most of the time what the trainee or what the job seeker does is keep on preparing, ironing clothes, seeing that certificates are there in the folder or something, and it goes like that, and it goes up to the wee hours of the day. Okay. Then he may have a very little sleep, because the brain need to be very fresh next day. For a good night's sleep only it helps actually. So getting a good night's sleep is, that too like a baby, is one of the important factors you should have actually on the previous day. Now comes the day of the interview. Do not skip your breakfast, and that is criminal thing that you can do to your body. I don't know how many of you know, 20% of the total energy you get from your food is going to make your brain functional. That too on an interview day, you have to be on your best, that too answering questions, listening to their questions, everything. You have to be your fully alert. For that, a brain requires the end energy. Of course, your reserve will help, but again, you don't want to get tired easily. And the interview may have written about starting at 10 o'clock. The company executive could have come later, or there were more people. The interview gets longer. Your interview could be later. Though it says 10 o'clock, sometimes you would have called around 12, 12:30. What you will do for some quick energy? Always carry some biscuits packet or a bottle of water, small bottle of water in your bag, where you can reach out and replenish those energy, and which is spent on worrying about what the interview will be. So it is nice to have a little bottle of water and some biscuits with you to perk you up when it is required. Then comes how you will reach the venue. Okay, I am on the assumption that now the corona scare is a little away. Most of the companies are opening up for the interviews face to face, and my slides are on that actually. So when you want to reach the venue, is early bird get the worm is the proverb, but here the worm is not significant actually, but the early bird get the place actually without worrying too much on the traffic. A good 30 minutes before the interview is what I suggest if you want to be in a relaxed mood, go through your notes which you have prepared on the company or on that topics which is very important nowadays, on the contemporary topics which may come as a question from your major or the core subjects, which I will go through once again. Who knows, you can interact with a friend who is there for the interview as well. Sometimes he can give you 1 or 2 tips about which you have not known about the company, which can be really useful. So 30 minutes before the interview is very, very what is advisable actually, so that you can be relaxed and sit there for the call. Who knows, some of the time, sometimes those who have to attend the interview didn't have come earlier. So you may be called a little earlier also. So you are at an advantage of attending the interview earlier as well. So this 30 minutes, keep it as a rule that you will reach the venue a good 30 minutes before the time of your interview. As soon as you reach, inform the receptionist or whatever who is in charge of the interview that you are there and your name and what time is your interview, and just wait there for the thing to happen. Fine. And yeah, and yes, the sky is falling. In fact, it is the other way. The sky is not falling. An interview is not the end of the world. So don't worry too much about what questions will come and how I will answer and all that. Okay. In fact, you should learn to relax a bit so that you will be able to answer your question in a good mood rather than in a worried mood actually. What will happen ultimately, if at all, if your skills are not matching or the way you have answered is not matching to their expectations, they may say that, okay, let us meet some other time. That's what happened. It is not the end of the world. The one company is not the end of the world. And you can always look for actually. So what you really want to look up is in a relaxed state and look forward for a good interaction with them rather than worrying about what my interactions will be like. So relax, the sky is not falling. And while you are waiting, what you will do, of course, you will chat with your friends. I told you, in fact, you could chat with your friends. You may introduce yourself, and rule 1, always introduce yourself. Never it is bad manners asking somebody what is your name. Rather than you could say, my name is Subramaniam, I'm coming from Coimbatore. May I know your good name, sir? That's why, that is how a conversation could start, and people will really appreciate that way. And if you've done that and somebody talks to you, good, spend the time rather than worrying about the interview. But remember to keep your voice low because an interview is happening. It should be done in a peace and your voice should not disturb in the reception area. That's what I could say. And this is my last slide on the part 1. And the part 1, which is on the decorated as golden, actually, that is where everything happened. Whatever you have prepared earlier is behind the scenes. What happens is the real act where it happens in front of the screen actually. And that is part number 2. What you should do on part number 2. This is the usual structure of an interview. And if it is a big organization like TCS, it happens through an exam where the screening takes place. Who scores on a certain level is passed for the interview level. Otherwise, they will ask you to come back after 6 months. That is happening at TCS usually. Whereas in other companies, if it is purely based on your resume and they are looking at your prowess as well as your proficiency and all that, some screening would have happened already. Likewise, the left side visual shows you a filtering would have already happened. Only they require the precipitate. Actually, what is balance in the filter paper actually. The whole liquid would have gone down. And if you had made it, that itself means that you are having certain grade. So all the more you need not worry about your interview. Then, of course, some introduction will happen. If there are too many people, they may go for an introduction round, and where you have to introduce yourself by stating your name and where are you from, and a brief history about your education, and of course the family, and some additional inputs, some skills which you have. And this is one place where you could use a little of your body language. If there is a forum is given, 6 or 7 people are sitting together, you could stand up, move around, move your fingers like that, 1 or 2, 3 points. You could mention about the mentioning by numbers, because people always listen to numbers and quality, quantity, as they say. Okay, so this is the introduction round that's going to happen. Then, of course, is the technical round, where the real fireworks happen, as I told you in the earlier preparation part, where you are really looking into the shoes of the job which you have. They are looking whether that shoe matches your leg or the leg matches the shoe. Both ways it is the fine. So you should be able to answer their question clearly and well as well. Then comes the HR round purely. Sometimes it will be combined with the management round as well. They are purely looking at how much you need this job from the HR perspective. How many people are in the family and what is your financial background? Will you really stick with this job, or it is just a fancy that your father is a big business magnate? You just want to know how the companies work, and that kind of a interview will take place on this final interview. And if you are through, you get selected. But what are the things you could do to
Sir, your voice is breaking.
Google, interacting with your friends as through some speakers who have visited your college, you would have known some part of it, how to be, you could attend the interviews, but you could improve yourself by following these. That's what I think, really. Don't be afraid to be yourself. Do not act like another person on the day of the interview. Be yourself. What does that mean? Because you want to create a aura that you are very relaxed and
So
you are. Yes, ma'am.
we are way over time. Could you please wrap up in the next minute?
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Fine. Okay. So that is one thing you could be. Just don't act, be yourself, and try to relate your personal details to recommend of the job. Suppose you are along with 6 or 7 people in the family and to take care of the siblings, and that is one type of responsibility you already have. You can share that is the way I have brought up and I am responsible, and I will be able to impart that in the job which is given to me as well. And you should speak, dress professionally the way it should be. Whenever you answer, your answer should be cut to the point rather than beating around the bush, and wear some subtle colored dress or something, a plain shirt and matching dark pants or something on this. Then about expressing the skills that the employer is looking for. Sometimes your interpersonal skill as good as a captain of a football team. You can manage a team very well, and that is what is required in the new job. You can impart that. I have an experience of managing a team, which I can relate to the job as such. Then, of course, be aware of your body language. Too much of body language people don't like, but at the same time, sitting like a statue will not helps very much.
Thank you,
Then,
sir.
of course, staying positive. Thank you very much, ma'am. Fine.
Thank you so much. I think we ended on a good note about staying positive, and I took a lot out of this because I'm also in college right now, and we have interviews going on. I'm in my 3rd year, so these really helped, and a lot of these points actually young people end up forgetting in the anxiety right before job interviews. So thank you so much, sir, for sharing your insights. It was such a great presentation.
Thank you.
A lot of people have been commenting that they really like it, they find it useful, and
I am honored, ma'am. Thank you.
thank you so much.
And how do I stop sharing, ma'am, now?
Yes, you can.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
We will go to the last part of today's session where the You Report India team announces the results of the quiz.
Okay, so I'm sure all the participants have been eagerly waiting to know the results of the quiz. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am, visible.
Okay, these are the winners. And here we have listed the UReporter IDs of the winners. Congratulations. You're the top scorers of the quiz. And we will get in touch with you through UReport, requesting your details so that we can ship the prizes to you.
Thank you so much, Harshita. Is there anything else?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you to our panelists for having such great sessions and taking out the time to join us. Yes, sir.
Do they have any questions for me, ma'am, actually?
I don't think so. We don't have any questions.
No issue, ma'am. No issue, ma'am. Just okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Winners will be contacted through the UReporter platform. All those who complete the feedback form will be receiving the certificates. Thank you to everyone for joining. Thank you to all our partners for supporting us. And thanks to UNICEF for bringing me in. This was actually a really great experience for me. Bye, everyone, and happy Diwali to everyone here.
Thank you, ma'am.